We could talk about that CeeDee Lamb. I'm not going to call that a drop. The other ones I thought were pretty egregious.
The crossing route.
That was egregious.
The first play in the fourth quarter bounced off his hands or his face mask.
Yes.
And then the next crossing route that he had, where it was weird because Jalen Tolbert was running into him on the route for some reason. And I'm kind of with Wolchuk at this point. If Jalen Tolbert's on the field, be careful because I don't know what he's doing positively on the field. But that other one,
not blocking.
CeeDee, there's no excuse. You have to catch that. CeeDee knows that. He absolutely does, and that's when he also probably went just like I would to you, Kevin. Come back to me.
Right.
I'm gonna do. Come back to me. And Dak said, "Okay, I got you, big dog."
I would too.
And went right back to him and. Look, man, Dak threw some beautiful passes last night. And that one right there was only my receiver can catch this football. CeeDee Lamb laid out for it, didn't get it. But that one's tough. The one before that, though, inexcusable. You have to catch that, and he knows.
No, I agree with that. I also, at some point, want to have maybe a Cowboys offensive philosophical discussion about on third or fourth down, you don't always have to make a deep shot at it, get the first down first, and then take your deep shot at it.
What do you think about first half clock management at the end whenever he was like, you know what, we're not just going to kneel it out and go home here. We're going to kneel it out and take a 70-yarder. We're going to go ahead and try and get one more play because I thought it was awesome that Schottenheimer trusted his quarterback to make the right play there.
Okay, so that leads perfectly into the next segment, your complete and total overreactions from the Cowboys season opener. Because you know what? Again, it's the tale of the first half and tale of the second half. In the first half, I thought the way they navigated to get that field goal at the end of the first half was tremendous. The way they navigated the clock at the end of the second half, I hated it. And I want to tell you specifically why. And I get it. People are going to say it didn't matter because you couldn't stop Jalen Hurts either way. But I'll tell you this. Go back to the Cowboys' final drive. Go back to, I realized before CeeDee couldn't lay all the way out and make that catch, or maybe you just thought he should have made that catch either way. The Cowboys run a play, and the clock keeps running. The play ends, I believe, and the ball is reset at 2 minutes, and I think it's 23 seconds. Go back and look at the clock right there. The way they ran it down to the 2-minute warning, I hate. If you want to argue it's because they knew they were going to convert and run out the clock, I think you could have done that anyway without running it down to the 2-minute warning. But instead, what they did was they faked like they were going to run a play and let it run down to the 2-minute warning. I hate that for so many different reasons. Because, A, you could have run another play, and if you didn't convert after Philadelphia's first play, it would have gone down to the 2-minute warning. And then if you could have stopped them two after that, you would have had about 1:40 left with the ball and another timeout. Or if you would have decided to punt, the exact same logic would play out and you would just have better field position. So I go back to that, and I know it didn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but while I loved the clock management at the end of the first half, I hated the clock management at the end of the second half. And I think that could have been to your benefit, but then again, make a stop on third down.
In my imaginary world where Miles Sanders doesn't fumble the ball, the Cowboys are up 27-24. The lightning delay happens. They come back out. Both defenses ready to rock. They stop the Eagles. They weren't functioning right on offense. They just didn't look like they knew what they wanted to accomplish there at the end of the game. And so in my imaginary world, CeeDee Lamb never has to make those catches because you're up. And that's why I'm like, hey, if that doesn't happen, you're not having that, Kevin. Look, they passed on every single play on that last drive with 3 minutes left.
Right.
You did not have to pass on every single play with 3 minutes left. Yes, you needed time when you got closer to the end zone, but if you manage your time correctly, they can still run the ball. They can still be effective in that manner. Now, they said, you know what, Dak Prescott's our $60 million man. Put the ball in his hands. Let him win this game. And unfortunately, that did not happen. But I thought Javonte Williams gave them reason last night to say he earned our trust to get the ball and give us some plays. If it's 2 or 4 yards, we're still moving the clock down and we're still working our way to a win.
So I'm really interested to see some of these overreactions or reality, and I'll tell you a little bit more why in just a second. Let's see. From the 214, complete overreaction. Here you go. We will have a top 3 offense, and the defense is going to play way better than most of us expected. We win 12 games and win the division. Holy moly!
I think that's a great overreaction.
Okay, and see, so I have to change some of mine.
And I don't disagree that if they play at that kind of game again and they clean up the mistakes, that they can be a 12 and 5 team.
You played an excellent look. If we were to play the Giants, no moral victory, it would have burned this thing to the ground this morning. But you played a really good team on the road. So I've had to change some of my overreactions as the game went along, all right?
Okay.
Cory, I will give you my initial overreactions and then how I had to change them. So the Cowboys were rotating groups of 4 defensive linemen, right? Like they were rotating them out in chunks. So you had Fowler, Osa, Kenny Clark, Sam Williams, and then you would have Nealand, Toya, Solomon Thomas, and Ezraku. So my overreaction was that's not going to work. They need at least 4 more defensive linemen because you were getting gashed on the run throughout the first half. But then you see how it played out in the second half, and I'm like, ooh, maybe that was a one-game overreaction, one-half overreaction. Mm-hmm. And so I might have had to already back off of that. Another overreaction I had, Mozzie Smith should have been cut. Like, if you're not even going to...
CD should be cut, honestly.
Okay, no, I'm not going to say that. That salary cap...
What's he even doing?
That salary cap hit is too tough for me to take. But Mozzie Smith, he wasn't even on the active roster, which I know just kind of goes back to the idea of, like, why did he make this team to begin?
You got to earn your spot on the
which I do like. Which I do like,
and I'm glad the Cowboys approached it that way and said, you know what? If you didn't show us, then you're not going to be on the field. You didn't. There's no reason to have an empty person on the field for that. Kevin, Alec, will you do me a favor? There's a very definitive drop that Kevin has about Micah Parsons and another defensive end.
There was one play, I was like, hell yeah!
There was a moment last night where I think we all believed that this was the overreaction that we all needed, if it's available to us in the near future. It's not right now, though. So we'll wait.
Needs Micah. We have James Houston.
Okay. So, yeah, there was a moment. I texted that to you guys last night. Alec, thank you very much. That's awesome. And that's why Alec is the best at what he does, ladies and gentlemen.
Because he didn't know you were going to ask
he
for
did
that.
Not. That moment right there, though, I was like, hey, you know what? I feel pretty good. And we can have the Micah Parsons conversation. Sam Williams said stop. He was like, well, don't even ask any more questions about this. He's gone.
Does he not know how the media works? That's not going to happen.
And that's why he's like, stop. Let's just move on. He's letting everybody know I'm not answering questions about this.
Yeah.
Jerry would say, I'm not answering questions about this, but let me give you some thoughts on Micah. That's how Jerry's going to approach it. But Sam Williams is like, I'm done with this. Now, James Houston had a couple of good moments. I thought Ezraku had a couple of good moments too. He had a couple of rookie moments.
Yeah.
That I was like, okay, you came down too far inside. Jalen Hurts scores a touchdown. You got to be better at sealing off the edge there. Sam Williams had a moment last night, Kevin. He had a couple of them that he came down too hard on the inside. Then he had to hustle his butt to go get back.
Yeah.
And he walked a very thin line a couple of different times of almost hitting Jalen Hurts too late. Very thin line, and he got very fortunate with that. But I loved watching Sam Williams. I hope the boneheaded mistakes are gone from him, and that you can watch the athleticism take place.
How nervous did you get when Jalen Hurts ran into that audio guy, and you thought that Sam Williams was going to be penalized?
That was it.
Because he had his...
That was the moment right there where I was like, "Oh crap, dude!" Because again, go back and watch that play. He goes down inside.
Yeah.
He's almost past the center. Turns around and realizes S. Coach said I need to seal off the edge, and I'm not there. He ran as hard as he could to get back to Jalen Hurts to make a play there. Now, does he get the yardage if Sam Williams did his job correctly? No. Or yes. No, he doesn't get that yardage.
Right.
But Sam Williams did the hustle that I thought was necessary after the mistake.
Alec, I had another mid-in-game, I guess, overreaction, and it was that the Dallas Cowboys will never, ever put a spy on a running quarterback because after Jalen Hurts scored on the first drive, and then we're marching down on the next drive, and I was like, what are we doing? And then he scored again, and you're just like, oh, for the love of God.
I'm sorry,
or
Alex, they did in the second half. Dante Fowler had a specific play that really stood out in that. Did you mention that one?
No.
Yeah, Dante Fowler was on the right side. He's spying, and that was something that Eberflus was like, all right, I guess I need to adjust to this. He's spying. He rolls around with him, and Jalen Hurts thought he had a free lane to take off running, and Fowler was with him behind the defensive line on that approach.
I'm fascinated how many people have changed their win total up because of this game. From the 8-1-7, I went into the season thinking that the Cowboys would only win 5 games. My overreaction after last night, this team could win 10 games at least. Man, I saw somebody mention the penalties. That's another one of my complete overreactions to the first game. We are not going to be a penalty-laden embarrassment in the NFL
sloppy
this year.
That's what I agree. They didn't look sloppy. And we're just like, that's a dumb mistake.
Yeah.
And that I don't know who to credit that to, because Bill Parcells says I don't coach penalties.
Right.
And so I'm trying to figure out who coached them to be better at that last night. So yeah, man, the penalties in a season opener on a Thursday night against Philadelphia, that you expect the Cowboys to have 3 false starts before they snap the ball. You expect somebody to line up incorrectly. You expect a lot of different things like offsides, encroachment, and they didn't have those penalties. Now they had 4 penalties for 42 yards, but it turns out it worked out for them. Kevin, can I say that I think Marshawn Nealon is going to be a stud in the NFL?
Oh, hey, it is overreaction to reality.
And I also think that I really appreciated Kenneth Murray being a linebacker in this defense last
Kenneth
night.
Murray was in on a couple of different plays that I thought were impressive. Now, unfortunately, at least one of those plays was he had to clean up somebody else's mess.
Yep.
Because once again, you could not seal off anything on the edge, and we talked about that in the first segment. But yeah, I there were a couple of times that I thought that I definitely noticed Kenneth Murray.
Yeah, and he's a bigger, more physical linebacker than we've had around here, and he flies to the ball. I thought the defense did their plan changed late in the game, and they said, we know they're going to try to run the ball. We're going to line up 9 in the box and try and see if they can get past that. But that was effective for them last night.
From the 8-1-7, overreaction, Cowboys will win 10 games, get into the playoffs, and then S the bet against Green Bay.
Well, you know what?
I feel like I've seen almost that exact
compared
thing
to the preseason. Compared to the preseason, nobody. Kevin, we were walking into this thing thinking 7 wins.
Yeah.
And right now I think a lot of people are changing their mind to 10 just because they looked a little bit better than we expected last night.
Yeah. And overreaction, here's both a good one and a bad one. From the 9-7-2, Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders are going to rush for 2,000 yards combined. Overreaction? ? All right, I love that. I won't say I agree with the positive overreaction, but I definitely don't agree with this negative overreaction. The Cowboys were only in that game due to penalties. Outside of penalties, the Eagles would have blown them out. I don't know what game you were watching. That was not indicative of the game that I was watching whatsoever.
One of the biggest penalty was the ejection of Jalen Carter.
Man,
that was and the penalty on the deep ball to George Pickens was warranted.
Yeah.
Like there were warranted plays there. So if you're going to say now there were a couple of lucky ones. I will give them that. But if you're going to say that the ones that were warranted that's part of the game.
Yeah.
Kevin, now that George Pickens is here, this is one thing that I wish we had a stat for. Yards picked up on pass interference. Because George Pickens might get us this year, he might get us 400 yards in pass interference calls, but not get the catch.
Right.
Because
be wary of that with your underdog plays.
He's a deep threat. And that flips the field. And that's something that Tom Brady was an expert at. I've talked about this for a long time. The ability to have a deep threat that somebody has to guard, and then you know what? Now I have to tackle him in the air before he even gets the ball because he already beat me. That's an effective play right there.
Man, not an overreaction. Zach Bond can beat Miles Sanders in a foot race. Fact. Probably emphatically.
If that had been Jaden Blue, do you think it would have been a touchdown?
I would have been
Alec?
Shocked if I would have been shocked if that happened. This is a big picture overreaction, I think. Schotty will win us a Super Bowl. I mean, obviously, that's what all Cowboys fans have been waiting and dying
I
for.
hope so, man.
for a generation.
It would mean
More than a generation.
I think, Kevin, of all the coaches we've had since Jimmy, maybe Parcells, it would mean more to me to see him win one.
Oh, interesting.
I like the man that he is, the connection he still has with his father and the conversation, and I just like the guy.
I got one more. My complete overreaction was that I guess this was not an overreaction, I needed multiple minutes to pause the game after Jalen Carter got ejected, because when they said the penalty was on him, I was like, oh, does that count as one of the two needed to boot him out? And then he goes, is disqualified from the game. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And my son, Noah, he goes, what? Because sometimes that's what we do with the little nephews, and he thought I was doing a bit. But in actuality, I was shocked at that moment.
I as soon as he did it, I was like, he has to go. And the whole Levon bearded monkey, they were like,
get him out of
here.
here.
And Kevin, now I ask you that question: is that enough for him? One full game there, or do you think he deserves another? Because I think Bill Romanowski was ejected for that. I do know Steven told Jerry Jones that he leaned over and asked him, and he was like, hey, they're focusing a lot more on sportsmanship this year. So that
we saw a penalty like
that
too.